Tonight, we're following up after President Donald Trump pardons those convicted of crimes connected to the attack on the Capitol on January 6, 2021. NBC Montana investigative reporter Bowen West looks into how the decision is impacting Montanans and speaks to a Dillon man who regained his freedom.
In January, President Donald Trump granted a sweeping clemency to over 1,500 individuals who were charged in the connection to the January 6 Capitol attacks, one of which is Montanan Henry Muntzer.
Muntzer reportedly joined a mob that went into the Capitol building. Prosecutors said he engaged in physical confrontations with law enforcement officers in the Senate chamber and the rotunda. For those actions, he received a 24-month federal prison sentence. Before going to prison, he released a video saying he fully expected a pardon when Trump assumed office. And that prediction came true.
Tell me about your response when you hear about the pardons. I mean, how do you react to that?
Well, you know, I was more excited for everyone else than I was myself, you know.
Muntzer, a business owner in Dillon, wears his beliefs on his sleeve, and notably, the outside of his appliance store. He compares January 6th to being invited to a house and then being accused of breaking and entering.
You had a certain sense of humor, a sense of outspokenness throughout this entire experience. Why is that?
Because people need to hear the truth, because otherwise the media and everything else that runs with whatever stories create the picture and people believe it. And how you brainwash people is repeat the same thing over and over again, whether it's true or not.
He told me he doesn't regret anything. He did come away from the experience with a few hopes, such as changing the judicial and prison systems, as well as a desire for everyone to hear his story. NBC Montana finished our interview and let Muntzer catch up with friends and family, but the story doesn't end there. While we were wandering around town, we bumped into him again. He wasn't sure if his record was totally expunged, and he knew there was one way to get the answer. He invited us to tag along.
You're like front page news.
I know. So now I went down and talked to the sheriff. I talked to the FBI, Secret Service, where I can buy a gun because my thing is cleared up, you know. But nobody can tell me.
He figured the fastest way to determine the extent of his pardon was to attempt to purchase a gun. And before long, Muntzer received his answer.
Can I show this? There's nothing personal on there, is there?
No, not until I put the number on there.
I've been denied, and yet here I am pardoned, and I cannot have my rights back yet, even though I have a full pardon. Then the concern is now is, can we even possess a gun? If we have one on us, where are we at? I mean, that's really a disconcerting situation because no answers.
Yeah.
And everything should be restored.
Visit our NBC Montana YouTube page for our full interview with Henry Muntzer. Reporting in Dillon, Bowen West, NBC Montana.
When we come back, here from another Montanan with a close tie to January 6th and why he's not celebrating Trump's pardons. We continue this look at the January 6th pardons and those involved with ties to the Treasure State. Among those released include Stewart Rhodes, the founder of the far-right group The Oath Keepers, which has connections to Montana. Rhodes was convicted of seditious conspiracy and received a sentence of 18 years. We heard from Rhodes' estranged son about the latest developments, and once again, NBC Montana's Bowen West with this report.
Dakota Adams had a turbulent upbringing. He grew up in the militia his father created. In 2018, Adams' mother filed for divorce. Since then, that side of the family forged their own path. Last year, Adams ran for the Montana legislature, a race he ultimately lost, but felt it was one worth fighting. To him, it was about showing the world the difference between him and Stewart Rhodes.
Tell me about your reaction to hearing that, he was pardoned.
So I had been braced for this as a possibility.
Rhodes' sentence was commuted, meaning he was released for time served but is still legally a felon. Adams had hoped Rhodes would not be released from prison. He believes his father already burned too many bridges in Montana.
He had burned his bridges and social connections with the entire right-wing militia sphere, patriot movement, social circle, and general prepper society in this corner of the state.
Concern is still there for the family that escaped Rhodes. Adams worries his father now has political clout that could lead him back into their lives.
And so it's going to be much harder to deal with the normal way than a typical stalker would be.
You can read my in-depth article about the January 6 pardons and their Montana ties at NBCMontana.com, or watch these full stories again on our YouTube channel. Reporting in Missoula, Bowen West, NBC Montana.